It was 2004, and I was just another detention officer heading toward work in Colorado. My routine drive took me down a quiet county road just west of the Great Sand Dunes National Park. The road stretched out before me, calm and still, until something in the rearview mirror caught my eye. At first, I didn't think much of it, but when I glanced back again, I froze. What I saw startled me, a massive ball of blue light. It wasn't a reflection or a trick of the light. The glow was intense, almost unnatural, and it hovered just behind my truck, following me with an eerie precision. My heart began to race. For a moment, I convinced myself it was nothing more than a strange natural phenomenon or maybe a reflection of something from the headlights. But as I stared at it, I realized this wasn't normal. The light wasn't fading, it was staying with me, hovering steadily behind my truck, as though it were alive. I could feel my pulse quicken. And then, to make matters worse, I saw something even more bizarre. Flames seemed to be trailing the light, adding an unnerving intensity to the already surreal sight. I had no explanation for what I was seeing, but I knew I was scared. Was this some kind of unexplained phenomenon? Was I witnessing something beyond my understanding, or was I simply losing my mind? The fear set in hard and fast, gripping me tightly. I was near Great Sand Dunes National Park, a place known for its natural beauty, but also infamous for strange occurrences. The towering dunes, stretching up to 750 feet above the valley floor, are awe-inspiring, but many locals believe there's a darker side to the park. For years, stories have circulated about strange lights, eerie sensations, and inexplicable events. On that day, I was about to experience it all firsthand. I tried to shake off the terror and dismiss what I was seeing, but no matter how fast I drove, the glowing sphere kept pace with me. It was almost as if the light knew exactly what I was doing. Every turn I made, every acceleration, it mirrored my movements with terrifying precision. I sped up, thinking I could escape whatever this was, but the sphere matched my speed effortlessly, following my every move. My anxiety grew to a breaking point. The more I watched it, the clearer it became that this was not a simple illusion. The blue light, this massive, hovering ball of energy, was real. I couldn't explain it, and that realization terrified me. My mind raced with questions. What was this? Why was it following me? Was I in danger? It was as if my every thought was being anticipated by this glowing presence. I had no frame of reference for anything like this. Sure, I had heard park ranger true scary stories before, tales that were shared among locals, stories about park ranger real stories from those who worked in the park and had witnessed strange phenomena. But I had never expected to become a part of one. It wasn't long before I noticed something else. This strange ball of light wasn't just following me, it was anticipating me, as if it knew what I was going to do before I did it. It was like something out of the strangest true stories I had heard from park ranger true horror stories or those true park ranger accounts that were shared in hushed tones around campfires. Each of these stories had described similar eerie lights in the area, but never had I imagined I'd witness it myself. My panic was palpable as I tried everything I could think of, changing lanes, speeding up, taking unexpected turns, but nothing worked. The glowing sphere was relentless, like a presence that refused to leave. For what felt like an eternity, I drove faster and faster, my eyes glued to the rearview mirror, my heart pounding. Every logical explanation slipped further and further from my grasp. Was this a UFO? An alien encounter? A supernatural event? Every possibility ran through my mind, but none of them made sense. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the blue sphere shifted its course. Without warning, it darted off to the side and shot toward the mountains at a speed that left me breathless. One moment it was right behind me, and the next, it was gone. I sat there, stunned, trying to process what I had just witnessed. My heart was still racing, and I was left with nothing but 1,000 questions and no answers. But I knew one thing for certain, something extraordinary had just happened, and it had left me shaken. I continued my drive, but I couldn't shake the overwhelming sense of disbelief that lingered. What had I just seen? Was I the victim of some strange but true story that would one day be shared around campfires? I had no answers, only the eerie memory of the light that seemed so alive, so sentient, and so deliberate in its movements. Over time, I learned that I wasn't alone in this experience. Many people, including park rangers and locals, had reported seeing strange lights near the Great Sand Dunes. In fact, there were numerous true park ranger accounts of strange encounters, events that defied explanation, from glowing orbs to lights that seemed to move with purpose, sometimes following cars and other times just appearing suddenly in the sky. I came across one park ranger true scary story that described how a ranger had been out on patrol when he spotted strange lights moving in and out of the dunes. He said that the lights moved in patterns, almost as if they were intelligently guided. One woman, Judy Messalina, had become obsessed with the phenomenon. She had witnessed so many strange occurrences that she decided to build a watchtower to observe the skies. Over the years, she documented over 100 sightings of unexplained lights, with some of the lights even dancing in the sky, darting across the sky with incredible speed, and others just hovering motionless. Her observations only added to the growing mystery of the area. True strange encounters of this nature were becoming increasingly common, and I couldn't deny that I was part of it. The speculation surrounding these lights was intense. Some people tried to attribute them to natural occurrences like weather phenomena or unusual atmospheric conditions, but Judy, along with many others, was convinced there was something more to it. The Great Sand Dunes National Park, with its strange energy and eerie atmosphere, seemed to be a magnet for the unexplained. Some visitors described feeling as though something unseen was watching them, or that the air was charged with an energy they couldn't explain. It wasn't just the lights, it was the sense of unease that accompanied them, a feeling that you were being drawn towards something, or perhaps being observed by something not of this world. I found myself thinking more and more about my own encounter, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't the only one. This wasn't just one isolated experience, it was part of something much larger. The strange blue light, the eerie feeling that something was watching me, and the park's long history of strange but true stories all seemed to fit together. Was this just another unexplained mystery that would eventually fade away, or was there something deeper at play? Some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved, lingering just out of reach, like the lights that dance across the dunes, teasing our understanding of the unknown. I may never know the truth of what I saw that day, but I now carry the knowledge that I, too, am part of a collection of true park ranger stories, one of the many who have experienced something strange, something unexplainable, in the shadow of the Great Sand Dunes. In December of 2014, I had an experience that completely shattered everything I thought I knew about the world. Living on a large ranch near Great Sand Dunes National Park, I cherished the isolation. The sprawling open land and the towering dunes in the distance provided the perfect setting for someone like me, who appreciated peace and solitude. Little did I know that this quiet life would soon be interrupted by something so strange and unexplainable that it still haunts me to this day. It started like any other night. I went to bed in my bedroom, sinking into a deep sleep with the cold night air creeping in through the cracks of the window. The sky above was clear, dotted with stars, and the vast silence around me felt comforting. But that peace was quickly shattered. I woke up suddenly, heart pounding, as a strange light filled the room. When my senses finally caught up to the situation, I saw them, two red balls of light glowing brightly outside my window. They weren't like any lights I had ever seen before. They were eerie, unsettling, and they cast an unnatural glow that spilled into the room, making everything feel wrong. Panic set in immediately. My heart raced as I stared at the lights, trying to understand what I was seeing. Was it a trick of the light? A strange reflection from the outside world? But no, these lights were real, too real to deny. They hovered outside the window, casting their haunting glow with no sign of fading. It was as if they were watching me. My mind raced for an explanation, but nothing made sense. Then, something even stranger began to happen. I felt it before I saw it, a deep, tingling sensation spread through my chest, quickly radiating throughout my body. It wasn't pain, but it felt like something unnatural was taking hold of me. I could feel my body go numb as if I was being paralyzed. At that moment, the bed beneath me began to shake violently. It wasn't just a tremor, it felt like something was trying to shake me off the bed, something invisible, yet powerful. I struggled to move, to sit up, to scream, but I couldn't. My body refused to respond. The vibrations kept intensifying, broken only by brief moments of silence before they would start again. It was as if I was being held in place, trapped in a nightmarish state where my own body betrayed me. I tried to fight it, but every time I tried to move, the shaking only grew stronger. It was terrifying, and I was helpless. The red lights outside my window grew brighter, their unnatural glow spilling further into the room. The sensation in my chest worsened, and I felt a wave of terror unlike anything I had ever known. Was this some sort of hallucination, or was something more sinister at play? I had heard stories before, scary home invasion stories where people felt like they were being watched or attacked by unseen forces, but I never thought I'd be living one of those Home Alone horror stories. The shaking continued, each moment more intense than the last, until finally, it stopped. Silence fell over the room like a heavy blanket, but I was still unable to move. The lights outside the window dimmed, but their presence lingered in my mind. Slowly, I regained control over my body, and I could finally sit up. My heart raced, my hands trembled, and I couldn't make sense of what had just happened. Was it a dream? A hallucination? Or was there something far more terrifying at play? The sensation of being trapped, unable to move or escape, felt like one of those Home Alone horror stories, a fear that someone or something is watching and controlling every moment. After a long while, the lights disappeared, leaving me alone in the darkness. But I wasn't alone in my confusion. The next day, when I spoke to other people in the area, I discovered I wasn't the only one who had experienced strange occurrences near Great Sand Dunes National Park. There were others who reported seeing unusual lights, feeling the same bizarre sensations, or hearing strange humming noises in the distance. These weren't Home Alone horror stories animated or exaggerated by the imagination, they were real experiences that people could not explain. At first, I dismissed these accounts as coincidence or overactive imaginations. But after my own experience, I couldn't help but think that there was something more to it. People described eerie flashes of light, strange feelings of disorientation, and a persistent sense of being watched. It was as though the land itself had a strange energy, one that seemed to draw these unexplainable events. It was as if something was lurking beneath the surface, hidden just beyond reach. What happened to me that night in December 2014 was just one piece of a much larger puzzle, one that I still can't solve. The fear I felt, the strange lights, the sensation of being paralyzed in my own bed, all of it left me questioning everything I thought I knew about reality. The fear and confusion I felt that night were like something out of a true Home Alone horror story, where the line between the ordinary and the extraordinary disappears. It serves as a chilling reminder that some mysteries are so vast and terrifying that they may never be solved, and sometimes, the truth is far stranger than we are willing to accept. In July of 2008, my partner and I set out for what we thought would be a peaceful camping trip, unaware that it would become one of the most terrifying experiences of our lives. We had chosen a remote spot near Great Sand Dunes National Park, eager to escape the noise and rush of everyday life and enjoy the serenity of nature. The night was cold, and after setting up our tent, we settled in, the wind rustling through the trees and distant wildlife murmuring in the background. The stars above were clear, and the stillness of the night felt almost too perfect, like a scene straight out of a nature documentary. But little did we know, this would soon turn into one of those true camping horror stories you hear around campfires, the kind that gives you chills long after the night is over. We were fast asleep when the tranquility was shattered. In the dead of night, we were suddenly awakened by a strange flashing light outside our tent. At first, I thought it was just someone else camping nearby, maybe shining a flashlight. But as the flashing continued, it became clear this wasn't normal. The light circled our tent in a deliberate, almost rhythmic pattern, like something, or someone, was trying to peer inside. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, a sense of unease washing over me. Something wasn't right, and it wasn't just the cold air. We debated staying put, wondering if we should call for help, but fear quickly got the best of us. After a long, tense silence, we decided to step outside. What we saw when we unzipped the tent left us speechless. A glowing ball of light hovered just a few feet in front of us. It was no ordinary light, it pulsed and shifted in the air, as if alive. We froze in place, too terrified to move or even speak. The ball seemed to sense our presence, hovering there, observing us. We couldn't tear our eyes away, but part of me felt like I should run. Maybe this was one of those true camping scary stories, the ones people joke about around a campfire, where you wonder if something supernatural is happening. But this was no joke. This was real. Then, the air around us vibrated, almost like an electric charge had filled the space. The ball expanded rapidly, growing larger and more intense. And before we could even comprehend what was happening, it transformed into a swirling portal. I couldn't believe my eyes. Through the portal, we saw a scene that was both familiar and impossibly surreal, cowboys on horseback riding across an open plain. They were yelling at each other, their voices distant yet filled with urgency, as if calling to us from another time. The whole scene felt like it had been ripped from the past, and for a moment, we weren't sure if we were seeing something from the past or another dimension entirely. We stood there, frozen, staring at the cowboys as they rode frantically, seemingly oblivious to our presence. The language they spoke was foreign to us, and the sight of it all, so vivid, so real, yet so out of place, was almost too much for our minds to process. We felt paralyzed, like time itself had stopped around us. I could hear my partner's shallow breaths, but we couldn't speak, couldn't move. Panic set in, and I thought, is this the end of the world? It felt like we were caught in one of those true camping in the woods horror stories that are too terrifying to be real but somehow still happen to people. Suddenly, just as quickly as it had opened, the portal closed. The light vanished, leaving only darkness behind. The world around us seemed to snap back to normal, but the silence was deafening. The strange lights outside our tent were gone, and the cold air felt thick and suffocating. We stood there, breathless, hearts pounding, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Had we imagined it? Was it some sort of hallucination or dream? We had no idea. For what felt like an eternity, we didn't speak. The terrifying images, the strange lights, and the portal had left us in shock. We packed up in a daze, neither of us saying much as we hurriedly left the area, too shaken to stay any longer. As we made our way back to civilization, the unsettling experience lingered in the back of my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever we had seen that night was far beyond our understanding. When we talked about it later, we discovered that we were far from the only ones who had witnessed strange phenomena in the area. In fact, the Great Sand Dunes have a long history of mysterious occurrences, stretching back over 500 years. The first European explorers who arrived at the park were equally baffled by the strange lights they saw in the sky. These true camping horror stories animated the imaginations of those who heard them, but the lights persisted, seen in various forms throughout history. For centuries, people have reported sightings of glowing orbs or strange flickering lights over the dunes, often behaving in ways that defy explanation. Some say it's a result of natural atmospheric phenomena, while others believe it might be something more supernatural, like alien encounters or even portals to other worlds. Our experience seemed to fit perfectly with these long-standing stories, adding our own terrifying chapter to the mystery of the Great Sand Dunes. What happened to us that night in 2008 still haunts me. It was no ordinary camping trip, it was a brush with the unknown, a real-life true camping horror story that I'll never forget. As time passes, I still wonder if there's something in the land itself that attracts these inexplicable phenomena. Whatever it was, I know that I'll never look at the Great Sand Dunes, or the mysterious lights above them, the same way again. The memories of that night, the glowing ball of light, the cowboys, and the portal, will stay with me forever, a chilling reminder of the mysteries that still lie just beyond the veil of the ordinary. It was November 30th, 1977, and I was out searching for a calf that had wandered away from the herd. I lived on a ranch just outside Great Sand Dunes National Park, and though the area was beautiful and peaceful, it could get pretty lonely. Most days, I found comfort in the isolation, but that morning, as I walked out into the vast, open field, I could feel something was different. There was a strange tension in the air, and I couldn't quite shake the feeling that something wasn't right. But I was determined to find the calf and bring it back. As I made my way deeper into the field, the wind was cold, biting through my jacket, and the sky above was a crisp blue. I didn't expect to find anything out of the ordinary. That was until I stumbled upon something that would forever change my life, a gruesome sight that I can still see clearly in my mind to this day. Lying there in the tall grass was the body of the calf. At first, I thought maybe it had been attacked by a predator, but when I took a closer look, I felt my blood run cold. The calf's body was mutilated in a way that didn't make sense. One side of its body had been completely gouged out, as if something had removed a chunk of its flesh with surgical precision. The right side of its face was even more disturbing. Its mandible, the entire lower jaw, had been stripped of flesh as if it were carved away with a scalpel. The calf's eye socket was completely gone, as if someone had carefully removed it. But it wasn't just the mutilation that haunted me, it was the hole. A 10-inch diameter hole had been drilled a full 18 inches deep into the animal's body. And the strangest part of all. There were no signs of predation. No claw marks. No bite marks. It was as though no animal had touched it. I stood frozen for a moment, my mind racing to make sense of what I was seeing. This couldn't be the work of a predator. The sheer precision of the cuts, the absence of any mess of blood, the way the body was eerily intact, it was all wrong. And the worst part was, I wasn't alone in this. I learned that many other ranchers in the area had discovered similar mutilated animals over the years. Between 1975 and 1979, there were nearly 10,000 cases of cattle mutilation reported in the region. It was a pattern that couldn't be ignored. The losses were staggering. Cattle were worth a lot of money, and with so many animals being found mutilated, ranchers were seeing millions of dollars in losses. Naturally, the FBI launched an investigation, naming it Operation Animal Mutilation. They sent agents to the area to try and uncover what was causing these strange deaths. But as hard as they tried, they couldn't figure it out. There were no clues that pointed to an animal, no signs of human involvement, and no explanation for how these animals were dying in such an unnatural manner. It was as if the animals had been placed there, perfectly mutilated, with no explanation. The investigation was puzzling, but there was one strange detail that continued to appear: lights. Witnesses, including several ranchers, reported seeing glowing orbs in the sky before or after the mutilations. These lights would hover in the sky, moving erratically, and sometimes disappear as quickly as they had come. I remember hearing stories of people seeing lights the night before I found the calf. It wasn't just one or two people, it was several witnesses across the region. Everyone had seen the same thing: strange lights in the sky. At first, I didn't know what to make of it. But as the days went on, more and more people began to speculate about a connection between the lights and the mutilations. Some began to wonder if extraterrestrial beings were responsible for the deaths. It was the only theory that made any sense to me. These lights, these strange, hovering orbs, had to be more than a coincidence. Maybe these beings were using stealth technology to abduct the animals, taking them to remote areas where they would perform some kind of experiments on them. Some of the animals had internal injuries, like broken bones, which made it seem as though they had been dropped from a great height. I even heard rumors that some animals had small pieces of micrometeorites embedded in their bodies, which only added to the growing suspicion that something otherworldly was involved. As I reflected on what I had seen, I couldn't help but think of the many strange true stories that had circulated in the area. Stories that were dismissed as rumors or local legends, but they all seemed to have one thing in common: the Great Sand Dunes National Park. Some folks said the place was cursed, that it was a hotspot for strange true mysteries. A lot of people even compared it to the strange true stories posted on sites like Reddit, where people from all over shared their bizarre, unexplainable encounters. Maybe this place really was a nexus for the strange and unexplained. The UFO theories were fueled even further by the history of the area. I had heard whispers from the older folks in town about the legends of the native tribes, stories that had been passed down for generations. The Apache and Navajo tribes spoke of star people, who came from the sky in pod-shaped lights. According to their stories, the star people weren't new visitors, they had been coming to Earth for thousands of years, long before modern UFO sightings became common. The natives believed that these beings had a special connection with the land, and they referred to the Great Sand Dunes as a sacred place, a place where the star people would sometimes visit. The legends told of a race of beings called the Ant People, who had once lived beneath the earth and helped the indigenous tribes survive a cataclysmic flood. After the floodwaters receded, the Ant People were said to have returned to the surface to guide and protect the people. To hear these stories, to learn about the history of the area, made me wonder, could this place truly be a gateway for extraterrestrial visitors? Were the strange lights I had witnessed, and the mutilations of livestock, part of something much larger? It seemed far-fetched at first, but as I reflected on what I had seen, the pieces began to fall into place. I wasn't just dealing with bizarre animal mutilations, there was something bigger going on. Something ancient. Something beyond our understanding. As the years passed, I learned that I wasn't the only one who had seen these things, and I certainly wasn't the only one to experience fear in the face of the unknown. The UFO sightings continued, and the mutilations persisted. Locals who lived near the Great Sand Dunes began to believe more strongly in the idea that the park was a hotspot for extraterrestrial activity, a place where beings from another world came to conduct their own experiments, study our planet, or perhaps even communicate with us. I don't know what the truth is, but I do know that what I saw that day, and the days that followed, changed me. The strangest true stories kept appearing. It seemed that every time I turned around, there was another odd encounter someone had experienced in the same area. Whether it was strange lights in the sky or encounters with otherworldly beings, there was no shortage of bizarre, true strange encounters. Some of the stories I heard from ranchers were chilling. One farmer told me that his cattle had been found mutilated, just like mine, with the same strange, unexplained features. Other people spoke of hearing weird humming noises in the night, almost like something was in the air, vibrating the land beneath them. The strangest true stories always had this eerie consistency to them. They weren't just isolated events, they seemed to form a pattern, something much larger than we could see. I still live in the area, but I've never quite looked at the Great Sand Dunes the same way again. What happened to that calf and so many others is a mystery that may never be solved. But the strange lights in the sky, the stories of the star people, and the deep, unsettling feeling I get whenever I think back on that day tell me that there's more to this place than we can comprehend. Whether the Great Sand Dunes is a gateway to another world, a site of alien experimentation, or something else entirely, I can't say for sure. But I know that sometimes the truth is stranger than anything we can imagine. And as long as I live here, I'll never stop wondering what's really out there in the desert sky. What did today's story teach you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The most insightful comment will be pinned for everyone to see. We specialize in bringing you the strange, mysterious, and paranormal, so if you love this kind of content, be sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss out on any of our 3 weekly videos. Don't forget to like our videos too, your support fuels our passion to create even more. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.